My name is Carol Dysinger. I made a documentary called Camp Victory Afghanistan, and I followed the training of the Afghan National Army for about 3 years. It's a story of American National Guardsmen, who are the people in America who tend to handle floods and disasters, but who were pressed into the job of training the ANA while the rest of our army was in Iraq. And it turns out to be a story of relationships between an Afghan general, General Faisal Sayar, and a colonel who was one of the few who actually sat and listened to his Afghan trainer and the follies and tragedies that ensued.
Now, when did you stumble upon this story and realize this needs to be made into a film?
Well, there seemed to be a lot of people, journalists, going after the battles and the bang-bang. But everyone was saying that our exit strategy, and by our I mean the West, not just America, was to train an Afghan National Army such that they could stand up and take the job up themselves. But I wasn't seeing anybody talking about it, so there was no knowing whether it was going well or badly, and given that we've been known to go into wars without knowing how we're getting out of them before, I decided it was important to go and see nation building. But nation building is something that is a concept that we hear about a lot, and I just went to Afghanistan to do something on nation building. But I just kept looking until I found something I could actually see that was nation building, and that's when I stumbled on this mentorship program where American officers would mentor Afghan officers. So it was more a principle, it was more this concept that I wanted to see what it actually was, and then finally I found this story, this friendship. That's what became the story. So idea first, story second. Working in Afghanistan is difficult. It wasn't difficult working with the Afghans, because even though I'm a woman and people often think that's going to be difficult, I'm a professor, so they just called me the professor, and they were fine. The difficulty was in getting the American soldiers to speak plainly and truthfully and just be themselves on camera. They're so, afeared of the left-wing liberal media. But what I did was I went and I got permission from the Afghan government to make the movie. People tell me this was brilliant. To me, it just seemed like good manners. But I got permission from the Department of Defense of Afghanistan, and then when I went to the Americans to get permission, I just said, well, if they said no, I said, well, then whatever shall I tell General Azimi, who is your client? And but there were many Afghan trainers, many Americans there who wanted very much the story to be told, because they themselves were frustrated by the fact that it was all about the bang-bang and things blowing up and IEDs and how many died, and they felt that what they were doing was actually good. And when somebody's doing something that they're proud of, it's a lot easier to get them to be straightforward with you. Mm-hmm. What I hope the audience takes away from the film is the fact that there are Afghans who are smart, loyal to their country, want to have a modern country, and that in our effort sometimes to get an army stood up, we often take it away from them and do it ourselves, as opposed to support them. If this is going to work, we need to do it better, because 9 years is a long time and the patience is running out. And things have changed since I was there. But the problems that you see in my film are the problems that are still being dealt with. So it's very timely in the sense that you really get a sense of where the issues, our issues, also exist.